The movie is set in a dystopian America, where a deadly pandemic has spread through some northern states. What's strange about this pandemic is that everyone who speaks will die. A news report shows graphic images of some people who fell victim to the pandemic. In another video, a woman is seen panicking as she records herself inside a car. Her daughter's mouth has been taped off so she doesn't scream, and the woman is holding a sign which mentions, "Don't make noise." As a result, the government has issued a state of emergency and urged people to remain in their homes and turn off their mobile phones. Within days, the pandemic has already taken its toll on parts of the country. In an underground metro, there's blood and dead bodies everywhere. The remaining passengers have sheltered in the train cars, waiting in fear for the disaster to be over. One day, a baby begins to cry and his mother can't make him stop. The passengers, who are afraid of the noise, try to push the baby out of the train, but the mother wants to get off with the baby. Sadly, her decision turns out to be fatal, as in just a matter of seconds, something catches up to them. Following this, the movie rewinds back to the time when it all started. A group of archaeologists is digging through uncharted caves in Pennsylvania, 1,000 feet beneath the Appalachian Trail. They stumble upon a huge, unseen black room and start to rejoice. However, suddenly, they hear strange noises coming from inside it and, lo and behold, the researchers come under attack by unknown flying creatures who instantly kill them and fly out of the mine. The movie then cuts to a high school in Montclair, New Jersey. A deaf teenager named Ally Andrews is waiting for a bus when she realizes that a bunch of douchebags are mocking her for being deaf. She ignores them and decides to walk back home. 3 years ago, Ally suffered a car accident that resulted in her losing her hearing. She also lost her grandparents, her father's parents. She uses sign language, lip reading, and speaking to communicate with others. In the meantime, a guy named Rob appears and offers to walk her home. Both of them are deeply in love with each other, but never come out with it. At work, Ally's father, Hugh, gets a call from his wife, Kelly, who informs him that their daughter was again bullied at school. This upsets him, but there's not much he can do about it. Ever since Ally lost her hearing ability, Hugh and Kelly have become very protective of their daughter and often have fights about it. Ally is the daughter of parents, brother Jude, and terminally ill grandmother Lynn. The Andrews family has another dog, Otis. Rob sends Ally a video at night of a group of what appear to be bats flying somewhere. At 3 a.m., Kelly wakes Ally up and asks her to come downstairs. She sees that all of her family is in the living room watching TV, and they look worried. Closed all windows and covered fireplace with plastic. The TV is reporting that several U.S. cities are under attack by an unknown species of pterosaur-like creature referred to as vesps. They were unleashed onto humanity when some researchers blasted through the ancient rockfall that had been sealed off for millions of years. The animals can kill a human in just seconds, and can use sound to find their prey. This has led the U.S. government to declare a state of emergency and to urge people to stay inside and remain silent. While everyone is horrified by the news, Ally recommends that they go to the countryside, where it's quieter and safer. Hugh agrees, and they begin to pack their stuff. One of Hugh's friends, Glenn, also joins them, and together, they set out for the countryside. Later, Ally and her family stop at a gas station to fill up their cars. She uses the opportunity to take Otis out to pee while Hugh tries to keep his son Jude entertained. Suddenly, he hears Ally screaming and quickly runs to her. A man is pointing a gun at her and asking her for the keys to Hugh's car. Hugh proceeds to comply, but Glenn shows up to his rescue and shoots the robber in the foot. Terrified, the Andrews take the man's gun and drive away, leaving the robber to be killed by the creatures. However, before they could get far, the group comes across a massive traffic jam that's blocking all the interstate highways. Glenn proposes an alternative, and they go off-road. While driving through the countryside, Glenn suddenly comes across a herd of fleeing deer. He turns his car to avoid collision, but rolls down the embankment. The Andrews immediately go to check on him and find him alive. Sadly, he is trapped inside the car. The family attempts to save Glenn, trying everything from using a nut wrench to open the door to calling 911, but to no avail. Finally, Glenn understands that he is going to die, and he tells Hugh to give him his gun and get out with his family. Distraught, Hugh doesn't want to leave his best friend alone, but for the sake of his family, he agrees. Unfortunately, as the family is about to leave, Otis feels something and begins to bark over and over again. This will draw in the vesps, and they will attack with great force. As all seems to be lost, Glenn, who is still inside the car, begins to shoot his gun to draw the creatures to him. He manages to save the Andrews temporarily, but at the cost of his life. All this time, Otis keeps on barking. Hence, left with no choice, Hugh makes the difficult choice and lets the dog out of their car to die. The Andrews then realize that they can't drive away in their car without attracting the vesps, so they decide to abandon it. Hugh starts his car on fire to keep the vesps away, and then he and his family run away on foot to find shelter. They walk for hours, and Lynn has trouble keeping up with her coughing, endangering the family. By evening, the family comes across an isolated house surrounded by a high fence and a locked gate. When they try to get in, the gate makes a noise and attracts the Vesps. Soon, the homeowner also comes out with a gun, seemingly unaware of the current situation. She tries threatening the intruders, but the Vesps immediately swarm her and rip her apart. After the incident, Hugh looks around the property for an alternate exit and comes across a storm drain tunnel that leads into the compound. He ventures into the property first to make sure it's safe. Ally and the others get a green light from Hugh and go into the tunnel, but inside, Jude encounters a rattlesnake, which makes him scream, and the Vesps come. The Vesps kill the snake, but they also bite Kelly's leg. As time ticked by, Hugh hurriedly used a wood chipper to distract the creatures and pulverize them. The family eventually come in and clean Kelly's wounds in the next scene. Before going to bed, Ally contacts Rob and finds out that his parents have been killed by the creatures. Worried, she asks him to get out of the city, but before Rob can respond, the call disconnects. Meanwhile, amidst all the chaos and despair, a religious cult is on the rise that is seeking new recruits and killing non-believers. The next day, Lynn again examines Kelly's wounds and learns that they are infected. Realizing that the wound is going to continue to spread without antibiotics, Hugh heads out to find a medical store with Ally. They walk silently for an hour and find a deserted city, and they search for a medical shop. Ultimately, they find one, but it is dark, deserted, and stinking of rotten flesh. As Hugh collects the medicine, Ally notices Vesp eggs growing inside the human corpses lying around the store. She inadvertently makes some noise and alerts the creatures. The two are trapped in the store with some Vesps. Luckily, Hugh has an idea. He sets a mop on fire and pulls the fire alarm. The fire alarm and water sprinkler make a lot of noise, and the father-daughter pair gets away safely. Outside, they are approached by a reverend who seems to have cut his tongue. It seems he is the head of the cult that's spreading around recruiting people and killing non-believers. The reverend asks them to join his flock, but Hugh refuses and walks away. They manage to get home safely with antibiotics, and Kelly starts to get better. The next day, Ally approaches Hugh and informs him that she watched the news at night, which stated that the Vesps can't stand intense cold weather. So, above the Arctic Circle people are living. She also shares with him information about areas known as the Grey. These are the locations where the power has been out and people are being isolated from the rest of the world because their phone and computer batteries are running low. It's like the Dark Ages are back again. Later that day, the Reverend and his cult members show up at Hugh's hideout. He again asks Hugh to join their cult, but again gets turned down. As Hugh proceeds to go back inside, the Reverend stops him and writes him a creepy note saying, "The girl is fertile." Hugh looks them up and down and goes back inside. The Reverend and his cult members think that Hugh is going to bring back his fertile daughter for them, but he brings back a damn rifle. However, the lunatics are unfazed, as they know Hugh won't shoot them, which would create a loud noise and jeopardize his family. Despite this, Hugh takes the safety of the rifle off and the cult members finally go away. Later that evening, Ally gets a message from Rob. He tells her that he is headed north of the country to the refuge. It is a place where all the people can be safe from the creatures. However, before Ally can ask him more about it, she loses her cell phone reception. At midnight, Hugh and Kelly wake up to noises coming from outside. He takes his rifle and looks at the main door as Kelly wakes Lynn and Jude. There's no one at the door for Hugh to see, but when Jude goes to the door, he sees a little girl his own age outside. The girl looks afraid, so Kelly decides to let her in. The Andrews family are concerned and give her a warm blanket and ask her how she got there, but the little girl doesn't say anything. Just then, Kelly notices some scars on the girl's jaw, and Hugh inspects her mouth. Lo and behold, the girl doesn't have a tongue. She is a member of the Reverend's cult and is probably sent by him. The Andrews family has been set up. They examine her waist and find that she has a number of mobile phones strapped to her. Meanwhile, Ally wakes up in her room and sees a phone taped on a cross on her window. The phone alarm suddenly starts to go off and attracts the creatures, freaking Ally out. The phones strapped to the little girl also start to go off, and the family scrambles to take them off. Ally goes into the living room and Hugh puts the phones in water. While all this is going on, the animals begin smashing the windows. Hugh and Jude try to keep the Vesps out while Ally and the others go into the basement to hide. But, unfortunately, there are masked cult members waiting for Ally, and they take her from the basement. Kelly attacks the men, but they kick her into the wall, knocking her down. The men carry Ally out, and the little girl also goes with them. Lynn is furious and runs out of the house and joins the men. She seizes two of the three men and tells Ally to run away. The girl obliges, and as soon as she reaches a bit far, Lynn, who is still holding the cult members, starts screaming at the top of her lungs. This eventually attracts the Vesps, and they rip the three humans to shreds. The rest of the family also comes outside, but all they can do is watch in horror. The Reverend appears and abducts Ally. Even before he leaves, he taunts Hugh to keep his mouth shut. But with the rain falling, Hugh, Kelly, and Jude sneak up on them and attack them. An enraged Hugh strangles the cult leader with the rifle, but the Reverend stabs him with a knife in the waist. However, Hugh summons all his strength and again gets back up. He employs his late best friend Glenn's old head, but then knocks out the cult leader as Kelly eliminates the other cultist. She then helps her husband by taking the knife out of his waist. The Reverend attempts to get up, but Hugh again gets on his case. This time, he shoots the cult leader to death with the rifle. Following the encounter, the Andrew family goes home, and the girl without a tongue walks off with her mother. Following this, the movie fast forwards by a few weeks, where the family is seen trekking across the country. They finally arrive at the safe haven that is the refuge. In the last shot, Ally and Rob are searching for Vesps in the woods. The movie ends as Ally wonders whether the Vesps will adapt to the cold, and if the humans will adapt to the life of silence, like she did when she lost her hearing. Subscribe to watch more videos like this. Leave a comment about your favorite movie and we will make it next. Thanks for watching.